we spend a lot of time trying to be good at research process. We generally take the perspective that if we focus on being excellent at process, we'll have enough good outcomes that the overall results will be satisfactory. So we feel that process is the one part of this we can really control, and therefore invest heavily in it. And what we seek to have is a process that is structured enough, that it is explicit, teachable, measurable, and improvable over time. And that last part's very important because we're always trying to look at what we do and figure out how to do it better. But at the same time, with that structure in place, is still flexible enough to handle different types of investment ideas. So for example, the exact way we would research an operating company that sells a service, let's say a service or a product, to retail customers that does not have a, let's say it has a strong balance sheet from a liquidity position, but doesn't own massive assets, but it's just is a standard sort of business in America. The way we might analyze that is very different. That, let's say it's a high free cash flow, high return on capital business that turns over its working capital very rapidly. That would be a different specific analysis than something that is a large asset that is currently not producing any cash flows, but may have tremendous long-term value once a few things occur. A great example of that is, for example, undeveloped land or land that needs to be repurposed in the future. They both may be very valuable assets, and the price of the securities of those companies may be very low in relationship to them, but we need to tackle the research process differently. So that's really what we do, is we look to have, we look to have this, what we call the four-step method of analysis, be structured enough to be improvable and flexible enough to address different types of ideas, including bankruptcy, special situation activist, etc. The four steps that we use are, first, we come up with a hypothesis. Why might this be interesting? What do we think is going on? That's step one. Step two is we then say, okay, what are the important questions that need to be asked to understand this better? And how do we get the answers to those questions? So step two is analogous to designing the study in the scientific method. Step three in the scientific method would be the experiment itself. And for us, it's actually doing the work. It's going out and getting the information. It's both qualitative and quantitative information, whether it's analyzing the financial statements, interviewing people in the industry, reading broadly, just how do we get the questions answered? That's step number three. Getting the questions answered is step number three. And then step number four is analyzing the data and then testing our hypothesis. And basically those four steps, iterated again and again, help move us forward in understanding something. And at each iteration, we stop and we pause and we say, okay, what do we think is going on here? What are the critical questions we need to ask and answer? And what is the most intelligent way to proceed? In addition, I should say that we try to kill our ideas very quickly. So we take the position that time management is one of the most important things to be successful in this business. And therefore, we're trying to kill ideas. Now, we don't mind if we have a high false negative rate, meaning we may kill a lot of ideas that are perfectly good ideas, and they might be great ideas that we're just going to miss, and we're okay with that. What we really want to avoid are false positives, things that we spend a lot of time on and maybe even invest in that we should not. So because of our inclination to really avoid false positives, we are constantly trying to kill ideas early on. And we may kill an idea because we discreetly understand why we would not invest in it at any price. We may kill an idea because we decide the price is just too far away from what we think at this early stage of analysis the value is, in which case we would put it on our list 4 with a price to come back to. Or we may kill an idea for nothing at all and for no reason at all. And what I would say, something I'm much more comfortable doing now than I was earlier in my career, is I really have a much greater respect for sort of the gut feel and general feeling of why I might not want to do something. And even if I can't articulate perfectly why I don't like an idea, I've learned that it's much better for me if I don't like an idea or I don't feel comfortable with it, even if I can't articulate why, to kill it and move on.